Roddy McDowall's life was filled with brilliance, hard work, and shadows that many never imagined. He was born Roderick Andrew Anthony Jude McDowall on September 17, 1928, in Herne Hill, London. His father, Thomas, was a merchant seaman who often travelled, while his mother, Winifred, had long dreamed of being an actress but never found her break. Instead, she poured her ambition into young Roddy. From a very early age, it was clear that he was destined for the stage. At only 4 years old, he had already won a poetry contest, and by 5, he was taking elocution classes to perfect his speaking voice. By the time he was 10, Roddy had made his film debut in Murder in the Family, and before his family even left Britain, he had appeared in 16 films. His sister Virginia also pursued acting, and together they were considered stars of their school, Hanover Academy, winning multiple drama awards during their 4 years there. But the Second World War changed everything. In 1940, when Roddy was just 12 years old, German bombers darkened the skies over Britain. His family joined the massive evacuation known as Operation Pied Piper, which saw 1.5 million people relocated for safety. They left for America with only $42 to their name, as strict wartime rules prevented them from bringing more money. His father joined the military, leaving his mother to carry the responsibility of supporting the family in a foreign land. She immediately began taking Roddy to talent agencies across New York, hoping that someone would recognize his potential. Hollywood soon came calling. Fox Studios had been searching for a new child star, and Roddy's story of escaping the war, combined with his charming British accent, made him a standout. A screen test of his was sent straight to Hollywood, where director William Wyler saw it and immediately recognized his rare talent. Roddy's first American role was in Manhunt, 1941, where he played a boy helping someone escape from the Nazis, a story that mirrored his own life experiences. Later that year, he was cast in How Green Was My Valley. He was only 13, but his performance was so strong that the film went on to win Best Picture at the 1942 Academy Awards, beating out Citizen Kane. The studio had spent $110,000 building a massive replica of a Welsh mining village for the film, and critics praised Roddy as one of the most promising young actors since Shirley Temple. Roddy soon signed a 7-year contract with Fox. In 1943, he starred in My Friend Flicker, which became a box office hit, earning over $2.4 million in rentals. He played a boy named Ken who bonds with a wild horse, a role that required him to learn horseback riding and work closely with animals. The film was so successful that Fox quickly produced a sequel, Thunderhead, Son of Flicker, in 1945. Audiences around the world adored him. In 1944, he tackled a much heavier role in The Keys of the Kingdom, playing the young version of Gregory Peck's priest character. Roddy was required to perform emotionally difficult scenes, including one where he loses his parents in a storm, and he even mastered a Scottish accent for authenticity. By 16, he was already playing complex, layered characters that most actors his age could not handle. In Molly and Me, 1945, Roddy showed his range by portraying a moody teenager who believed his father hated him because he resembled his late mother. The film balanced both comedy and drama, requiring him to cry in one scene and deliver impressions in another. Audiences connected with his authenticity, and his fan mail surged. People saw him not just as a movie star, but as a real boy navigating challenges that mirrored their own lives during the war years. Behind the curtain, however, Roddy's life was far from easy. Many mistakenly believed he won a Juvenile Academy Award in 1944, though it had actually gone to Margaret O'Brien. Still, Roddy had become the primary breadwinner for his family. At 16, he was making $2,500 a week, which would equal hundreds of thousands of dollars today. His work schedule was grueling, 6 days a week with little time for friends or a normal teenage life. Unlike many child actors who squandered their money, his mother carefully saved it. Even so, the constant pressure left him anxious and homesick. As Roddy grew older, people questioned whether he could escape the shadow of being a child star. His breakthrough came on Broadway in Compulsion, 1957 to 1958, a play based on the infamous Leopold and Loeb murder case of 1924. Roddy played Arthur Strauss, a cold and calculating young man. Though he was replaced by Bradford Dillman when the story was adapted into a film in 1959, His stage performance signaled a major turning point in his career. By 1960, Roddy was embracing darker roles. In the thriller Midnight Lace, he played the unsettling Malcolm Stanley, whose suspicious behavior kept audiences on edge. The film starred Doris Day and had a budget of $3 million, with Roddy's performance adding crucial tension. That same year, he took on the role of Mordred, King Arthur's illegitimate son, in the original Broadway production of Camelot. He performed in 284 shows and even earned a Tony nomination. His song, The Seven Deadly Virtues, became a standout moment in the musical, proving that his talent extended beyond film. Then came the infamous production of Cleopatra, 1963, in which Roddy played Octavius. The film ballooned to a staggering $44 million budget, nearly bankrupting Fox. Behind the scenes, he witnessed the scandalous love affair between Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, and he saw firsthand the chaos that plagued the set. Despite these problems, Cleopatra eventually became the highest-grossing film of 1963. In 1965, Roddy played the Apostle Matthew in The Greatest Story Ever Told. Though the film lost money, his thoughtful portrayal demonstrated the depth he could bring to serious, spiritual roles. But it was in 1968 that Roddy truly cemented his legacy when he endured hours of grueling prosthetic makeup to transform into Cornelius, the chimpanzee archaeologist in Planet of the Apes. The makeup process initially took 7 hours to apply and 3 hours to remove, but Roddy committed to it with incredible discipline. His performance helped turn the film, made for $5.8 million, into a massive cultural phenomenon. Roddy's dedication extended beyond acting. While on set, he filmed behind-the-scenes moments with his 8mm camera, documenting the laborious makeup process and capturing his co-stars in candid moments. He was preserving film history before anyone realized its value. He returned for Escape from the Planet of the Apes, 1971, where his character's story gained emotional depth, making the sequel one of the most praised of the series. When the Planet of the Apes TV series launched in 1974, he returned again, this time as Galen. Though the show lasted only 14 episodes, his presence gave it credibility. Roddy was more than just an actor. He was also a celebrated photographer. In 1966, he published Double Exposure, a groundbreaking photography book that featured 98 celebrities. Each star was written about not by a journalist, but by another famous person. Marlon Brando's section, for instance, was written by James Baldwin. The book sold exceptionally well and solidified Roddy's reputation as a trusted photographer in Hollywood. He worked with major magazines like Life and Vogue, and celebrities clamored to be photographed by him. In 1989, he released Double Exposure, Take 2, a much darker follow-up. The most haunting section showcased Judy Garland during her decline. Roddy, who had befriended her during the Judy Garland show in 1963, captured her in moments of vulnerability, crying, sick, and exhausted. His photos revealed the toll that MGM and the entertainment industry had taken on her life. Garland had been pushed so relentlessly that by 40, her health was destroyed. The images Roddy captured were heartbreaking and brutally honest, and they became some of the most memorable in Hollywood photography. Roddy's friendships with the Hollywood elite were legendary. He was close with stars like Elizabeth Taylor, Rock Hudson, and Paul Newman. He often hosted gatherings at his Malibu home, filming private beach parties where Paul Newman could be seen grilling burgers and Lauren Bacall sunbathing topless. These home movies captured the private, carefree moments of Hollywood royalty that the public never saw. But behind this charming exterior, darker rumors surrounded Roddy. In December 1974, the FBI raided his home, seizing over 1,000 films and tapes worth millions. What they found went beyond movies, it was evidence of something far more serious. In the aftermath, it was said that Roddy betrayed some of his closest friends to protect himself. Names like Elizabeth Taylor and Rock Hudson were whispered in connection with the scandal, though the full truth was never publicly revealed. Roddy McDowall lived a life of contradictions. He was a devoted artist, a loyal friend, and a man who gave everything to his craft. At the same time, he was someone who carried secrets and was forced to make choices that forever altered how people saw him. His legacy remains complicated. On one hand, the brilliant actor and photographer who helped define generations of cinema, and on the other, a man caught up in Hollywood's darkest undercurrents. Hollywood has always been a place where dreams and reality collide, where stars shine on the screen but struggle with shadows behind closed doors. Few people saw and understood this world better than Roddy McDowall. To the public, he was a talented actor with a long career, but in truth, he was much more than that. He was a witness, a confidant, a guardian of secrets, and a quiet archivist who spent his life capturing the real faces of Hollywood. What he left behind was not only a career in movies but also a vast treasure of photographs, films, recordings, and stories that revealed the hidden world of the stars. His life was filled with loyalty, love, heartbreak, risk, and the constant balance between protecting friends and facing the dangers of the industry he loved. At glamorous parties, where names like Rock Hudson, Anthony Perkins, Natalie Wood, and Jane Fonda gathered, the masks of stardom briefly came off. Roddy was there, camera in hand, not to exploit but to preserve the truth. These parties were rare moments when stars could relax, laugh, smoke, drink, and behave like ordinary people. Natalie Wood flirted openly with men despite her husband not being present. Roddy recorded these moments on 16mm film reels, but he never released them. He knew the damage they could cause. He protected reputations even as he preserved the raw truth of what Hollywood was really like when the spotlights weren't shining. Roddy's sensitivity and loyalty were perhaps best seen in his friendship with Montgomery Clift. After Clift's horrific car accident in 1956, which shattered his jaw, nose, and cheekbones, Roddy was one of the first people to be by his side. He photographed Clift as he tried to rebuild his life, capturing him practicing smiles in front of a mirror, fighting to regain the face the world once adored. Those pictures were never published while Clift lived. Roddy chose to protect him rather than expose his pain. Only later did the world come to see them, silent reminders of how brutal fame could be and how much it demanded of those who lived under its light. Roddy's friendships with Hollywood's greatest names lasted decades. His bond with Elizabeth Taylor was one of the most profound. They met as child actors in 1943 and remained inseparable until his death. In 1993, Roddy published Double Exposure, Take 4, which revealed the depth of their friendship. Taylor spoke openly about her addictions, her struggles with weight, her marriages, and her fierce love for Richard Burton, whom she admitted she did not simply love but possessed. Roddy's photographs of her stripped away the glamorous image the public adored, showing her crying after divorces, barefaced without makeup, or simply vulnerable. In return, she photographed him too, a sign of their mutual trust. For decades, he was her safe place, calling her daily just to check in. Even in her old recordings, his voice can be heard, a steady presence in her chaotic life. When Roddy was dying of cancer in 1998, Elizabeth returned to Los Angeles to sit by his side every day until the end. She later held a private memorial at her home for him, a final act of love for a friend who had given her so much. Roddy's loyalty extended beyond friendships. In 1957, when Maureen O'Hara was targeted by a false scandal from Confidential magazine, which cruelly accused her of indecency in a theater, Roddy stood by her. He photographed her throughout the painful court case as her brother proved she hadn't even been in the country when the alleged incident took place. The victory not only cleared O'Hara's name but also became a major blow against the notorious gossip magazine that had destroyed many reputations. Roddy's photographs stood as evidence of her dignity during those hard times, showing again how he protected people he cared about. His Malibu home became a sanctuary for Hollywood's closeted actors, especially during an era when being openly gay could destroy careers. At Roddy's private gatherings, men like Rock Hudson and Tab Hunter could laugh freely, relax, and share their true selves without fear. Roddy often filmed these gatherings, not to scandalize, but to preserve moments of authenticity. His home movies showed stars like Julie Andrews walking on the beach with her daughter, Paul Newman and Jane Fonda lounging in the sun, and other beloved figures stripped of Hollywood's false polish. These were the rare glimpses of who they really were, moments of safety in a world that constantly demanded they hide. He also carried deep scars from his own love life. In 1951, Elizabeth Taylor introduced him to Montgomery Clift, and the two fell deeply in love. Roddy even moved to New York to be near him, nearly abandoning his acting career for over 2 years. But when Clift ended the relationship, Roddy was shattered. He attempted to take his own life, though he survived, and remarkably, he never held it against Clift. Instead, he remained close to him until his death. They later worked together in The Defector, Clift's final film, and Clift admitted he would never have finished it without Roddy's unwavering support. Roddy's compassion came with risks. The photographs he took with Tab Hunter, for example, showed them playfully posing in short shorts, cooking together as though they were boyfriends. In the 1950s, those photos could have destroyed both of their careers if they had ever leaked. But Roddy never betrayed the trust of those who let him into their private lives. He became known as Hollywood's quiet confessor, the man who knew everything but revealed nothing. His creative pursuits went beyond acting. In 1967, he directed his only film, Tam Lin, a psychedelic retelling of a Scottish ballad starring Ava Gardner. The film captured the strange, colorful spirit of the 1960s, but tragedy struck when the production company went bankrupt. By the time it was released in 1970 under new names like The Devil's Widow, it had been cut apart, and the film flopped. Roddy never directed again. Only years later, when Martin Scorsese helped restore the original version in 1998, did critics finally see Roddy's vision, calling it a hidden gem. By then, the recognition came too late. Roddy's acting career had its ups and downs, but he had memorable successes. In 1985, he played Peter Vincent, a washed-up vampire hunter in Fright Night. The role mirrored his own feelings of being discarded by Hollywood. The film, however, became a cult hit, earning nearly $25 million and giving Roddy a new wave of young fans who adored him. Though he missed appearing in Beneath the Planet of the Apes because he was busy with Tam Lin, his legacy in the Apes series and his role in Fright Night cemented him as a beloved figure. But Roddy's greatest and most controversial legacy came not from acting or directing but from his secret passion for collecting films. Starting in the 1960s, he began rescuing movies that studios were throwing away, believing them worthless. By the early 1970s, he had built a massive private archive, larger than many studios themselves. His North Hollywood garage became a treasure chest of cinema, filled with reels of Citizen Kane, Lassie Come Home, My Friend Flicker, and even Errol Flynn's personal collection. He transferred many of them onto magnetic tape, convinced that this technology would preserve them longer than film. He wasn't trying to profit, he charged friends only what he had paid himself. To Roddy, it was never about money, it was about saving art from being lost forever. Everything changed on December 18, 1974. The FBI raided his home, seizing over 1,000 videotapes and 160 rare film reels. They claimed his collection was worth over $5,000, making it the largest film piracy raid in their history. The government accused him of distributing films illegally. Under pressure, Roddy cooperated, giving them names of others in the film collecting community, including Rock Hudson, Arthur P. Jacobs, and others. Many were shocked, hurt by what they saw as betrayal. Though the case was dropped in 1975 and Roddy never went to trial, his reputation was scarred. He stopped hosting movie nights, and some friends never forgave him. Still, his passion for film preservation continued in a different way. He later joined the Academy's board and helped establish the National Film Preservation Board, contributing to the legal safeguarding of classic cinema. In the 1990s, he even worked on restoring Cleopatra. Roddy's final legacy remains sealed away. When he died in 1998, he left behind diaries, letters, photographs, and recordings that he entrusted to Boston University. But he placed a shocking condition in his will: they cannot be opened until 2098, 100 years after his death. The decision sparked endless speculation. Why would he hide them for so long? Many believe the diaries contain explosive truths about Hollywood, relationships, betrayals, and secrets that could still damage reputations today. Some suggest they may reveal details about Elizabeth Taylor's marriage to Eddie Fisher, about Rock Hudson's AIDS diagnosis and how it was hidden from the public, and about private struggles of stars like Judy Garland, Natalie Wood, and Paul Newman. There are even rumors that his diaries describe in detail his heartbreak after losing Montgomery Clift. For now, the world can only guess what those sealed archives contain. What is certain is that Roddy McDowall lived a life of contradictions. He was both an actor and an archivist, a man who preserved Hollywood's truths while carefully protecting its lies, a friend who held secrets but sometimes betrayed them, a man who loved deeply but often in silence, and someone who lived in the shadows of others while quietly shaping how we remember them. His life was as dramatic, tragic, and complex as any film he ever acted in, and his final gift, or warning, will not be revealed until long after everyone who knew him is gone. Until then, his story stands as one of the most fascinating in Hollywood history, a reminder of the fragile line between fame and privacy, love and betrayal, preservation and piracy.